Where do we begin today or this week? Now, this is April, and so this week has been busy. It was monumental also. I had a awards recognition with my job Tuesday, and I had an Al Green concert. So I pushed through. Those are two things that I was determined. No matter how tired or how worn out I was going to make it, and it was so well worth it. I received a award. Isn't that awesome? I work for a company that they definitely show their appreciation for work that you do, and it makes my heart full. I really love that. It was a great luncheon. Um, isn't it beautiful with my name? My heart is full. That was great. The Al Green concert with my brother. It was my, what was it? My early Mother's Day present. Thank you, Marcus. I love the music. I love the memories of hearing the songs. I love the laughter and the jokes, the inside jokes that we had regarding the concert. I will treasure that. And that ride home from Austin. Woo! It was good. It was good. And something that happened at the luncheon. I had one of the leaders with her wisdom, her expertise. She gave me a nugget, and I needed that. She gave me some information that I wasn't aware of being able to utilize. So I'm so thankful for the positive, informative leaders at my job. And she started, what she said was, I don't know your story. And she was pertaining to my health, what was going on with my health. Or I think she said, I don't know your story or all of your story. And she didn't, probably she doesn't know, like the diagnosis of cardiomyopathy. I always have to say that to highlight that portion of my diagnosis. I don't say my disease. And also the congestive heart failure. And, but when she said, I don't know your story, it triggered something in me. It made me think, what is my story when I have to tell it about the diagnosis with the heart disease? And so I said, I want to get the story out. Everyone has a story, probably several stories, myriads of stories. And like my girlfriend Greg in Michigan, when we first met, I was discussing something with her, and I said, well, I've been through some things. And this was at 28. And so just, and she said she thought, what has she been through? But that was my way of saying, I have some stories. I have some things that I've been through, but I'm still here on this side, and everything's all good. But my story, if I was to start it regarding the heart disease, it would go, once upon a time. Okay, seriously. Oh, do I have to be all serious? That's not my personality. You know me, those who know me. However, the diagnosis was given in 2007. However, the symptoms started maybe 8 months. Let's say 8 months, 9 months before the actual diagnosis in November 2007. I was experiencing off and on fatigue, off and on swelling of my feet and my ankles, and shortness of breath. And so it would be off and on, and I was saying, what am I doing with my diet? What am I doing wrong? And I think after probably the 6 months, I started mentioning it to my internal medicine doctor. And I told him of the symptoms. He had some x-rays done. He did an EKG, and nothing came back. He said everything's okay. He gave me, for the shortness of breath, an inhaler. And so he said, take that daily and things would be okay. And I would take the inhaler daily. Things were not okay. And so after so long, I think it was like November, it was November in 2007, and it was about to transition to get a little cooler in, in Texas. And that's when you usually wear your cute boots. You can wear your cute boots and don't have to worry about the snow or the wetness, the wet weather. However, I was still wearing like open toe shoes because I couldn't put anything that was enclosed on my foot. And I was just tired. By the time I went from my car to the door of my job, I would have to rest. My department was on the second floor, and I would no longer be able to take the steps. I had to take the elevator. That's how tired out I would be. In my apartment, I was on the third floor. So each landing, if I came in, especially with groceries or something, I would have to rest on each landing. So something definitely was going on. And you know when your body is doing something different, whether you admit it or not. And I knew it was going on too long. So I finally, I Googled my symptoms. I think I put it in as, I didn't put fatigue. I said tiredness, shortness of breath, and I think I may have said swelling, something of that. And I think a couple of heart issues came up. And it still didn't click heart, but I knew something was going on. Called the doctor's office once again, talked to the nurse. She put me on hold. She came back, and because they were about to close, she said, the doctor said, go to the urgent care right now or go to the ER. So I went to the ER and ended up being in a traffic jam. It was rush hour. And traffic was back to back, and we were at a light. And I remembered it was the day that, it was a Wednesday, it was the day that American Next Top Model came on. And that was my show. That's one of my guilty pleasures. I love the show. I was at the light, and I said, if this light continues to hold up and I can't get through this light, if I don't get through this light within, I think it was like 2 minutes, I was going to go home. And I said to myself, one more day is not going to kill me. So the light changed. I was able to get through. I was able to get to the ER, told them the symptoms. They did a EKG. They did I think they did an MRI. Nothing came back. The ER doctor was excellent. He said, I see your symptoms, or I hear your symptoms. I see your swelling. If we can keep you overnight in observation, I want to run some tests the next morning. And so I said, okay. And they had cable. So I was able to see American Next Top Model. So everything was all good. And that next morning, a X-ray tech came in. He did a echocardiogram. He put it on my heart. And he listened, and he went out the door. Came back in with a doctor. And I didn't know at the time he was a cardiologist. And the cardiologist, he did the echocardiogram, put the thing under my breast, on my heart. And the cardiologist listened and said, have you just delivered a baby? And I'm like, no. And I was in my 40s. And I'm like, no. And then he said, had I had bronchitis, some type of viral infection? I said, no. And so he said, okay, we want to do an angiogram. And so I said, well, will it be invasive? And he didn't answer. So I assumed it wouldn't have been invasive and it wouldn't hurt. You know what happens when you assume. So long story short, asked the nurse, was it going to hurt? Was it going to be invasive? Was it going to hurt? She said, oh, you don't know what you're going to have? She wheeled in a TV with a video and wanted me to look at it. This was probably about 5 or 10 minutes before it was time to for them to come and wheel me out to go into the procedure room for the angiogram. That's what it was. It goes through your groin. And I said, these last 5-10 minutes, I'm not going to watch something that's going to scare me. So I didn't watch it. My daughter was in the room with me, and I was like, no, I'm not watching. So they came in, wheeled me into the room, did the angiogram, went through my groin, put the tube or whatever it is, it brought it from my groin up into my heart. And you can see it on the TV screen. They were looking for blockage, and there was no blockage. Long story short regarding that, the doctor came into the room. He explained that my symptoms were idiopathic, which means they don't know where it came from. But I had cardiomyopathy, which was heart disease. I had congestive heart failure. I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. And that my EF, it's something that reached, or I guess your infraction rate, it was at 17. He said it didn't look good. My heart was barely functioning. And it was so depressing, everything he was telling me. So when he left, I was laid out on my back. And all I could do was look up at the ceiling and reflect. And I said, okay. And sometimes on your back, looking up or being at your lowest, you get your biggest revelations or your biggest impact in reality to be able to know where to go next. So I'm laying on my back and I'm thinking of everything he said. And I'm like, well, it doesn't look good. And if it's time to go, and if you can realize, if I can give you a visual of how I thought. I grew up on cartoons. Bugs Bunny, Tweety Bird, Road Runner, and maybe one of the Tiny Toons or the whatever it was. You know how they would have the cats, and the cats would get hurt, and they would have 9 lives, and the 9 lives would be going up and going up. 9, cat number 8, and he's checking out. And symbolically, or if you can visualize, I was checking out. I was saying, well, I've served God and I know him. That was cat number 9. And I moved to Texas at 32 and I've had a good life and I raised my daughter and I'm checking out. So when it got probably to that 5th cat, the cat's moving up, and it was my grandson, Doobie. And he wasn't a year old at the time. So that cat checks out, but he stops here. Or maybe I stopped him. I don't know. I know it goes and it gets here. And there was not comfort with that checkout of that cat. Because I thought, he's not a year old. If I was to check out right now, someone, they would have to give him pictures of me and say, this is your grandma honey, that's what he calls me, and she loved you. And they would tell stories about me. And he would have to take those pictures and go, this is my grandma honey, and he would repeat those stories. But it wouldn't have come from a place of the heart or a place of even a memory. It would have been a story told to him. So while that cat is up here, I thought about it. And I said, I don't want anyone telling stories to my grandson. I don't want my grandson repeating stories about me. I want him to know I loved him. And I want him to personally have stories about memories and moments that we had. Or that, just to be able to tell the stories from his standpoint of who Honey is or who Honey was. So that cat was up here, and it was time to come back. Here come cat number 6 and so forth. Those 9 lives didn't check out. It wasn't time. So while the doctors were blah, 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 I was like, get me out of here. And if I gotta die, I'm gonna die living. And that's my quote. So, checked out of the hospital. That was 2007. And I said, okay, I'm gonna make sure I spend time with my grandson. What are some things I want to do? And I always wanted to have my own dance and teach dance throughout community. So I opened up a dance company, Great Jubilee, 2008, and started, I was contracted with San Antonio Parks and Recreation. So I had different dance classes, had a wonderful dance instructor to teach modern dance. I did beginners ballet, hip hop, praise dance. We did some community performances, ministries. It was awesome. Up until 2012, I had to stop because I started fatiguing again. I was able to do some independent acting. I've always wanted to act. I joined up with the Renaissance Guild, our local acting company in San Antonio. Did some plays, act ones, and Black Nativity, and was able to choreograph one of the years to dance. And God was grand, and God is still grand. And let me see, acting, dancing, doobie, a travel. That was always a check. So now I work for a great company where I'm able to have travel privileges or travel options, increase benefits. And with 2015, with 2012, start feeling fatigue. Start sort of like being in denial, if I can say that, up until 2014. Went to my new cardiologist. He upped some meds. He did some things. But 2015 in April, they opt to give a pacemaker because it wasn't any improvement. I was having incidents where I would wake up in the middle of the night with heart. My heart was like beating out my chest and irregular. It was different things going on. So they gave me a pacemaker. I don't know if you can see my. Can you see that? My incision. And awesome surgeon. He, when I had ran into someone who had a pacemaker, and when she showed me her incision, it was like sort of out, if I can say out, or just up above the skin to me. And because I'm small, I was sort of worried about being able to have something big just across me. And my mind was like, am I going to look like a backwards Quasimodo, Hunchback of Notre Dame? And I explained to him I was worried about the incision, so he did put it under the muscle. And never really had a problem. I think for a year, my arm was stiff. Trying to lift it, I couldn't stretch it out until like a year. Learned some stretches, and I'm good as new. But everything was good. Had an incident where I had to be in the hospital the latter part of 2015. But after that, everything was pretty good. And starting last year, the earlier part of 2018, started feeling fatigue again. Started having off and on swelling, the shortness of breath. Not a lot of shortness of breath, not until September of 2018. Went to my to the heart specialist, my Dr. Kwan, great doctor, and he suggested another stress test, which I had in 2016. 2016, the results was 19, which is good. He said I would just have to live with medication because my heart was great. After they did that pulmonary, the thing on your face, and you had to be on the stress test, and I looked like Hannibal Cannibal, or Hannibal, whoever. But he ordered another stress test in December. We went through that, and I could barely make it through the testing. And they mentioned something about a transplant, the option, and I'm like, no, that's not an option. That's not what we're going to have. And after a catheterization testing this year, they went through to go through my heart and to see the heart pressure and all that other good stuff. For those who are cardiomyopathy, you're familiar with the medical diagnosis, or you may be a cardiomyopathy or heart have the disease, so you're familiar with the terminology and the different procedures. Hang in there. But now they're going through the assessment to get me on the waiting list for the transplant. So from 2007 to now, this is where I'm at. And I thought about it and I said, well, are the cats checking out? No. Is there at least a cat ready to go? No. And my grandson will be 12 in July. And my personal story with him is when I went to pick him up on Christmas, I'm at the airport. I always say, I love you, Doobie. And he says, I love you, honey. And this time I asked him, do you know your honey loves you? And he said, without a hesitation, without a doubt, nothing. He just immediately said, yes, I know you love me, honey. And I love that because that's what I live for. That's what I live for. And I thought about it. I said, I've had some highs, some lows, some fatigue, some energy. But in it all, I'm still here. I'm getting awards. Hey, hey, hey. If I had to take a picture. I'm enjoying my friendships with my girl Simone, with Greg, with my brother, with Marcus. Our laughter, our jokes, and those serious conversations with all three are monumental. And that's a cat that I never want to check out. And the cat's not ready to check out to this point. So I'm still here. I love it. I'm ready for a new heart. I had to come to that reality. Instead of the doctors telling me what they wanted for me, I had to say, I'm tired of this heart. And this heart has had a full life. So that's not bad. But I'm ready for the next grace and energy and vigor to be able to dance again. And to be able to be used how destiny provides what God has planned. And if it means you got to have heart, a new heart, I am that person. I am the one. I'm ready. And what is it? It's a quote. I want to just leave with that. I love, well, my quote is, if I have to live, if I have to die, I will die living. And I am doing just that. And I love, life isn't about waiting for the storms to pass. It's learning to dance in the rain. And sometimes we're waiting on the rain to stop, troubles to stop, the storms to pass, the delays to stop, the turbulence to quit. And sometimes there's things we need to go through, not check out, but go through. And I pray your strength. I pray your joy, your courage through it all, whatever you may have to go through, whatever you're going through, because that's what life is. But I am still dancing. I still have steps that I want to get out. So ain't no stopping me now. But I hope you dance. I hope you learn to dance in the rain, in spite of. And until we go over the next story, until that next storm passes, I wish you joy, peace, and happiness, love and happiness. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, Natural J, if you haven't subscribed. Comment, like, share, because in all the stories to tell, there is no shame, because I shall live this testimony and story, whether it's rain, sleet, or a shine. I shall live this testimony out loud. But until we meet again, this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. And you have a great one. Bye-bye.